crime story.
The mysterious story of a woman who was swept out to sea. Are you familiar with the name Nining Sunarsih? No? Well, would you be interested in hearing an incredibly peculiar story that unfolded between 2017 and 2018 in Indonesia? Its central character was swept far out to sea and astonishingly reappeared 18 months later. So, without further delay, let's delve into this extraordinary case and endeavor to unravel one of Indonesia's most intriguing mysteries. On June 30th, 2018, every news outlet in the country was abuzz with the story of Nining Sunarsih, a woman who vanished in January 2017 and was discovered. She had been carried away by the powerful currents from a beach renowned among surfers for its colossal waves. This news rapidly spread worldwide, and to this day, a satisfactory explanation for what transpired remains elusive. Disappearance. The story commenced on a Sunday, specifically January 8, 2017. When a 52-year-old Indonesian woman decided to enjoy a day with her family at Cyprus Beach. Situated in close proximity to Sukabumi City, this beach is a favored spot among surfers. The day started auspiciously, with the family basking in the sun and unwinding. However, things took a dramatic turn in the middle of the day when Nining expressed a desire for a brief swim. As Sunarsih ventured into the water, an immense wave crashed upon her, sweeping her away. She valiantly attempted to combat the relentless current, but her efforts proved futile, and she was carried out to sea. Tragically, roughly 10 onlookers were present at the scene, hearing her cries and seeing her frantic waving for assistance. Regrettably, none dared to brave the treacherous waters, as the waves were formidable and perilous. Reaction of relatives. As for her family, they too found themselves powerless against the relentless fury of the waves. However, in a swift response to the dire situation, her relatives promptly alerted both the police and the Coast Guard. Within a mere 15 minutes, the Coast Guard reached the scene and engaged in a relentless search for Nining, persisting for 4 grueling hours until darkness enveloped the area. Tragically, despite their concerted efforts, Nining had vanished without a trace. The quest for her continued for several more days, but her whereabouts remained a mystery. Eventually, the police and Sunarsih's family were compelled to face the grim reality. Nining had likely succumbed to the sea's depths. Strangely, just 1 week later, a woman's lifeless body was discovered on the same beach, bearing a striking resemblance to the missing Indonesian woman. The discovery of the body. As expected, local authorities promptly considered the possibility that this body might be the missing woman presumed to have drowned just a week earlier. The absence of any reports of a missing person only strengthened their suspicions. Consequently, they summoned members of Nining's family to the morgue, urging them to identify the body. However, upon careful examination, the relatives unanimously rejected the notion that this body belonged to Sunarsih. There were distinct dissimilarities: the absence of a prominent birthmark on the woman's stomach, the absence of manicured nails, and the difference in clothing. Nevertheless, the authorities decided to proceed with DNA testing to definitively ascertain the woman's identity. After comparing the results, it was irrefutably concluded that the woman found was not Sunarsih. Remarkably, her true identity remained a mystery, and she was never identified. The search continued. Nonetheless, the search efforts persisted, spanning several more weeks, until authorities eventually declared Nining deceased, even though her body remained undiscovered. In spite of this somber pronouncement, her family steadfastly refused to entertain the notion that she might have perished, given her strong swimming abilities. Consequently, her relatives clung to the hope of reuniting with Sunarsih. Such unwavering hope isn't uncommon, especially when people are unwilling to let go of their loved ones in seemingly hopeless circumstances. It must be acknowledged that, on occasion, genuine miracles do transpire. Nining's story stands as a testament to this reality. At the close of June 2018, precisely 18 months after her vanishing, the world was astounded when this woman was discovered alive. Prophetic dream. Curiously, just a few days before Nining's miraculous reappearance, her husband had a perplexing dream in which she communicated to him, urging him to visit the beach and search for her in the vicinity where she had vanished. Initially, he didn't attach much significance to this dream, but when it recurred the following night, he could no longer dismiss it as mere happenstance. Consequently, he confided in his family about this persistent dream. After deliberation, they collectively arrived at the decision that it was imperative to head to the beach and explore the area described in the husband's recurring dream. And so, on the Saturday of June 30th, 2018, the Nining family initiated their quest along the shoreline. Regrettably, that afternoon and evening yielded no signs of the missing woman, but their determination remained unwavering. The pursuit persevered throughout the night, and as Sunday's first light broke, their diligence was rewarded. Ella, Nining's sister, espied the woman lying unconscious on the sand, approximately 500 meters from the spot where Sunarsih had ventured into the water a year and a half earlier. What confounded them even more was the clothing she wore. It was identical to the attire Nining had on when she went swimming. A mystery. Sunarsih remained unconscious, prompting her family to transport her to the district hospital for the necessary medical attention. Upon her arrival at the hospital, doctors noted that her vital signs were within normal ranges, and they anticipated her swift recovery. This prognosis was nothing short of astonishing for someone presumed to have drowned 18 months prior. As per the medical professionals, Nining regained consciousness relatively swiftly, but her ability to speak remained impaired for an extended period. Additionally, she grappled with amnesia, rendering her incapable of recollecting any details of her experiences. This amnesia posed a substantial obstacle, as it precluded any interrogation regarding the events spanning from January 2017 to the summer of 2018, thereby leaving a considerable portion of the puzzle unresolved. While Nining's family regarded her reappearance as a bona fide miracle, the local populace harbored skepticism and began posing inquiries. Yet neither Sunarsih's relatives nor the authorities could furnish a comprehensive explanation for the enigmatic turn of events. Unanswered questions. You're likely grappling with a multitude of questions at this point. How did she manage to survive for a year and a half? What's the explanation behind her discovery near the same location she vanished from, wearing the same clothes? After 2 days of extensive questioning involving her family, the local community, and Nining herself, the local police announced their intention to initiate an official investigation. As the community awaited a rational explanation, the authorities strongly urged residents to refrain from entertaining extravagant theories or giving credence to mystical conjectures. Susesio Pernomo, the police chief of Sukabumi City, where Nining had gone missing, even issued a statement advising people not to be swayed by unverified information. Regrettably, the police chief's counsel had limited impact, as the initial rumors and conflicting reports had already begun to circulate. Theories explaining the disappearance. Residents in the region couldn't resist the temptation to conjure up the most peculiar narratives, ranging from the logical to the imaginative, occasionally bordering on the absurd. The local media, television broadcasts, and subsequently the internet delved into the realm of speculation concerning the events of those 18 enigmatic months. Undoubtedly, the most pressing question revolved around the inexplicable reappearance of a woman who was, by all appearances, alive and well, a development that confounded most scenarios. In one way or another, the majority of these conjectures ultimately converged on the notion that Nining might have been attempting to evade something. Why? Well, it came to light that the woman had accrued numerous debts. It came to light that prior to her disappearance, Sunarsih had been engaging in door-to-door solicitations, encouraging individuals to invest their money in the stock market. Eventually, the company she worked for went bankrupt, and Sunarsih found herself burdened with a substantial amount of debt. According to the popular Indonesian newspaper, Tribun News, there's a suggestion that she may have orchestrated her vanishing act as a means of evading her creditors. This theory gains support from the fact that doctors confirmed that when she was discovered, there was no water in her lungs and no indications of an extended period spent in the water. At first glance, this theory appears reasonable. However, some argue that if Nining aimed to escape her debts, there were more straightforward methods of disappearing within Indonesia, especially considering the country's expanse of over 17,500 islands, some of which are uninhabited. Moreover, the puzzle deepens as to why she returned after a year and a half. If avoiding creditors were her motive, such a decision would seem counterintuitive. Health problems. Consequently, the persistent question that continued to baffle people was, where had Nining spent the entire 18 months? Speculation arose in some Indonesian media circles, suggesting that Sunarsih might have dealt with mental health issues. This theory gained traction when reports surfaced that she had spent time at Unravel, a rehabilitation center catering to the indigent and individuals with mental health concerns. This rumor initially surfaced when an individual who worked at the center in 2017 claimed to have encountered a woman resembling Sunarsih, who had been admitted without disclosing her identity, and was consequently dubbed Miss X12. The puzzling question that loomed was whether it was indeed the same person. This conjecture finds support from Dr. Nining Sunarsih, the center's physician, who pointed out that the only notable distinction between the two women was that Nining appeared slightly thinner than Miss X12 during her time at Unravel in 2017. In a rather astonishing twist, Miss X12 managed to abscond from the facility in early 2018, only to be rediscovered 6 months later. Nevertheless, this theory, too, raises questions, as it fails to elucidate how Sunarsih ended up in the same location she disappeared from on that fateful day. Most perplexing of all, it doesn't account for why she was still clad in the same attire. It's worth noting that the police conducted a thorough investigation into the possibility of Nining's stay at this center or any other medical facility, but never substantiated the claims. Time travel. Even after the passage of 4 years, the authorities have yet to furnish a definitive explanation for the enigma surrounding Nining's vanishing and reappearance. Consequently, this enigmatic case has provided a fertile ground for the emergence of mystical conjectures. A specialized Indonesian newspaper, delving into the realm of ghosts and other unexplained phenomena, proposed the notion that Nining might have embarked on an intertemporal journey. To be sure, the idea of disappearing for such an extended duration, then suddenly re-emerging wearing the same clothing as the day she disappeared and possessing no recollection of the intervening months, is intriguing. Nevertheless, it remains, at the very least, an improbable scenario, as time travel is currently relegated to the realm of scientific theory and remains untestable in practical terms. Abduction by aliens. Furthermore, an alternative theory has emerged, postulating that Nining might have been subject to abduction by extraterrestrial beings. Of course, it's essential to acknowledge that this theory lacks logical and credible support, but it persists as a conjecture in a scenario where rational explanations are elusive. It's worth noting that there is no substantiating evidence for this theory, as no UFO sightings have been reported in the vicinity during the relevant time frame. Staged. There's undeniably the possibility that Nining and her family might have fabricated the drowning narrative to conceal certain undisclosed facts. The lingering questions revolve around the nature of these facts and how Nining managed to elude discovery for 18 months. Furthermore, concerns arise regarding the eyewitnesses who observed Sunarsih being swept out to sea. Moreover, the absence of a discernible motive raises questions about what the family could have gained by concocting this peculiar fiction. While this mystery has yet to be definitively unraveled, it's reasonable to anticipate that a rational explanation may exist. Now it's your turn to weigh in. What's your perspective on Nining Sunarsih's story? Which version seems to provide the most plausible account for the baffling vanishing and reappearance of this woman? Do you consider this case to be a paranormal phenomenon? Or do you believe there's a scientific explanation waiting to be discovered? Share your thoughts in the comments. I hope you liked this story. Please don't forget to leave a comment sharing with your thoughts below. Give a thumbs up this video, and remember to hit that subscribe button to stay tuned for more captivating stories. Thank you for joining us on this remarkable journey, and we'll see you in the next video.